Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. In this session, I am going to explain you performance appraisal of an employee. Employee performance appraisal is a key function in human resource management. It helps the organizations evaluate and improve employee performance. In this video, I am going to cover the introduction, definition, and meaning of performance appraisal, concept, objectives, uses, need of performance appraisal, what are the essentials of an effective performance appraisal system, process of performance appraisal, and methods of performance appraisals, traditional as well as modern. So, what's till the end to learn best practices for an effective appraisal system? First thing, I would like to go for what is the meaning of performance appraisal? Basically, this is the process of assessing employee performance by way of comparing present performance with already established standards. Means it is a process of assessing the performance and progress of an employee of a job and its potentiality for future development as well. So just it simply we can say that it is assessing the performance of an employee in this job itself, and it can also provide what is the future development of an employee in his job. Right. What is the definition? According to Flippo, performance appraisal is a systematic, periodic, and an impartial rating of an employee's excellence in matters pertaining to his present job and his potential for a better job in the future. This is what definition refers. Right. Now, let me explain you what are the concepts of performance appraisal. What is the features of the performance appraisal? It is a process of obtaining, analyzing, and recording information about the relative worth of an employee. It is a continuous process. As said above, it is a purpose of performance appraising to know the performance of an employee. Subsequently, to decide whether training is needed to particular employee or not, and to give promotion with additional pay hike. Everything will be described in the performance appraisal system. And it is also systematic examination of the employee's strengths and weaknesses in terms of the job. It is a continuous process. It is a scientific and objective process. It is a tool for determining whether the employees is to be promoted, demoted, or sacked. Means it's removed in case of very poor performance and no scope for improvement. So it is a systematic and objective way of judging the relative worth of an ability of an employee in performing his task. The main purpose is to secure information necessary for making objective and correct decisions of an employee. This is the main objective and the concepts of performance appraisal. Having said that, let me go for what are the main objectives of performance appraisal, vital key objectives of performance appraisal. So, the first thing is providing feedback. Providing feedback is the most common justification for any organization to have a performance appraisal system. Its process, the individual learns exactly how well he or she did during the previous 12 months and can then use that information to improve his or her performance in the near future. That is the first. And to provide valid database for personal decisions concerning placements, pay hike, promotions, transfers, demotions, removal, etc. And to identify the strengths and weaknesses of an employee, and to provide coaching, counseling, nurturing, career planning, and motivation to subordinates, and to develop positive superior and subordinate relationship, and thereby reducing their grievances among them. And if there is any needed counseling poor performance, and to facilitate research in personal management, and setting and measuring goals are as well, and to test the effectiveness of recruitment, selection, placement, and induction program, and encouraging performance improvement, and determine the compensation changes. And this is another classic use of performance appraisal, because almost every organization believes in pay for performance, but how can pay decisions be made if there is no measure of performance? So performance appraisal provides the mechanism to make sure that those who do better work receive more pay. Next, I would like to go for the uses of performance appraisal. So it is just like mentioned in the objectives, it is a valuable information for all the personal decisions, for all the requirements of the employee, either pay, promotion, training, termination, etc. And provide justification for the recruitment, selection, placement, and orientation system of an organization. It helps do performance through appropriate feedback, and it also faced human resource planning. What does it mean, Matt? How many employees are required? How many human resources are required for an organization is known as human resource planning. And career planning, what they are going to plan for the future. It promotes competitive spirit to improve performance. Systematic appraisal of performance helps to develop confidence among employees. Then, need. Right. This is the provide information performance ranks on which decisions regarding salary, transfer, demotion are taken, and back information about the level of achievement and behavior of the subordinate can be taken, and to provide information diagnose deficiency in employee regarding skill, knowledge, abilities, and we can take proper counseling for them, and to prevent grievance and indisciplinary activities among the employees. Then, what is the essentials of an effective performance appraisal system? Right. There should be mutual trust, employer and employee. Clear, they have to set the clear objectives, and the procedure should be standardization. It should be standardized as in terms of criteria, form, procedure, and techniques wise, and training to evaluate or evaluate should not be uh, unbiased. It should be uh, he has to provide objective decision making. He has to focus on job related behavior and performance. The document should be very proper. Feedback and participation should be essential characteristics in the performance appraisal system, and diagnose the individual differences, and post appraisal interview, review, and appeal. All these are the essentials of an effective performance appraisal system. Right. Now, let me move on to the very, very important concept is process of performance appraisal. Right. For that any process, first we need to establish performance standards. The first step is the process of performance appraisal is the setting up of the standards, which will be used as the base to compare the actual performance of the employees. This step requires setting the criteria to judge the performance of the employees as successful or unsuccessful, and the degrees of their contribution to the organized goals and objectives. Likewise, we need to communicate the standards. Once set, it is the responsibility of the management to communicate the standards to all the employees of the organization. The employee should be informed, and the standard should be clearly explained to all the employees. This will help them to understand their roles and to know what exactly is expected from them. Then later on, measuring the actual performance. First establishing the performance standards, then communicate to all the employees, then measuring the actual performance. This is the most difficult part of the performance appraisal process, measuring actual performance employee, that is the work done by the employee during the specific period of time. It is a continuous process, of course. However, it involves monitoring the performance throughout the year. Then, comparing the actual with standards. This is the actual performance is compared with the desired or standard performance. The comparison tells the deviations in the performance of the employees from the uh, standards what they are setting. The result can show the actual performance being more than the desired performance. So actual performance is less than the desired performance, depending on the negative deviation in the organization performance. Then discussing the appraisal, we have to discuss the results. The results of the appraisal is communicated and discussed with the employees on one-to-one basis. The focus of this discussion is on communication and listening. The results, the problems, and the possible solutions are discussed with the aim of problem solving and reaching consensus among them. Then that last one, taking corrective action. Performance feedback task to be handled very carefully and taking corrective action for that. Then obviously we need to take the decision making. The purpose of conducting employee performance for making decisions about the employees without any bias by the HR manager. This is the total process. Establish the standards, communicate standards to all the employees, measuring the performance, comparing the actual with the standards, discussing the appraisal, taking the corrective action, and decision making as well. Then the other and important point of discussion in this video is the different methods of performance appraisal. Very very most important aspect in this human resource management is the methods of the performance appraisal. This can be categorized traditional methods and modern methods. Right, the traditional methods are the confidential report, free from essays, right, ranking, paid comparisons, post distribution, graphic rating scales, checklist method, critical incidents, group appraisal, field review. Whereas when it comes to the modern methods, assessment center, human resource accounting, behaviorally anchored rating scales, MPO, and 360-degree appraisal. The first and foremost, I would like to go for confidential report. So this prepared by the immediate supervisor of an employee, right? So the boss of the concerned employee will be prepared the confidential report system. It is the system is well known method of performance mostly being used by the government organizations. In this method, subordinate is observed by his superiors regarding his performance in the job and on his duties done. Thereafter, supervisor writes the confidential report on his performance. The mostly it involves the character and absenteeism, knowledge of an employee, nature, punctuality of an employee. So it involves subjectivity is as based on impression rather than the data. So it is the descriptive appraisal used for promotions and transfer of employees. Its creditability, basically, it is low, very low. Therefore, no feedback is provided to the employee being appraisal. So, this is the what the confidential report will be given. So, this should not be sent openly on a paper. It must be kept in a sealed cover to send it to the decision making authorities. That is the first one. Then next one is a free from or an essay method. Essay appraisal method we can say here. So under this, evaluator writes a short essay, free form method. Right. It involves description of the performance employee by his superior. The description is an evaluation of the performance of an individual based on the facts, includes examples and evidences to support the information. And major drawback on the system is the inseparability of the bias of an evaluator. That is the second one. It is a very time consuming, difficult to compare to essay proposals. The appraisals may be loaded with flowery language, and the quality of appraisal depends on the writing ability of the evaluator. These are the some drawbacks. Despite all these drawbacks, this can be provide good deal of information about an employee, and evaluator can explain with the help of examples. Right. The third one is a straight ranking. Nothing much making in this is evaluator assigns relative rank to the employees in the same work unit doing the same job. See, here, what they are going to do is under this ranking method, the manager compares the employee to other similar employees rather than to standard measurement. So, employees ranked from the best to the poorest to the on the basis of performance. Employee 1, A, B, C, D, depend on their rankings. So the whole person is compared with the other whole person without analyzing the performance here. They are providing the ranking system. Depending on ranking, the performance appraisal system will be provided. It is the one of the oldest, simplest method, but it is also has several weaknesses. However, it involves bias, difficult to rank, indicate only how person stands in relation to other in the group, but not how much better or worse he is. That is the straight ranking system. Having said that, let me move on to the paid comparison method. So here, each a better technique of comparison than the straight ranking method. This is the better when compared to the straight ranking. This method compares each employee with all others in a group, one at a time. So after all the comparisons on the basis of the overall comparisons, the employees are given final ranking. So comparison is made on the basis of the overall performance. So the number of comparison to be made can be decided on the basis of the formula n into n minus 1 by 2. So here means a number of persons to be compared. Secondly, it becomes very cumbersome when the number of employees to be rated it as large, right? Then forced distribution method. So here, it is a method what exactly indicates that the rater is required to distribute his rating in the form of normal frequency distribution, as I have shown figure below. Like this, it will be provided. The purpose is to eliminate raters bias or central tendency. Here also ranking technique is used. This method is highly simple to understand and easy to apply, and it is also helps to reduce bias involved in straight ranking and paid comparison method. In this method, employees are placed a certain category and not ranked within the category. So this method is based on some distribution of good and poor performance. So this is what we call forced distribution method. And one more thing I would like to mention here is to abolish a trend of rating most of the employees at a higher end of the scale. The fundamental assumption of this method is that employee performance level conforms to a normal statistical distribution. For example, 10% of employee may be rated as excellent, 40% as above average, 20% is average, 10% are below average, 20% as a poor. So it eliminates the favoritism of rating many employees on a higher side. This is what forced distribution method is refers. And the graphic rating scale. This is a very popular method as far as the traditional methods of performance appraisal is concerned. Under this method, core traits of employee pertaining to his job are carefully defined, like attitude, knowledge of work, managerial skills, teamwork, honesty, regularity, accountability, interpersonal relationship, creativity, and discipline, etc. The form contains several characteristics of all these. So the rater records his judgment about employees' traits on the scale. So these are the traits. This accordingly they are going to provide the rating system. Rating scale is of two types: continuous and discontinuous. Continuous is always 0 to 5, and discontinuous is only boxes will be provided here. Continuous scale will be like this: 0 to 5. And discontinuous: poor, average, good, and excellent. It is very easy to understand and use. It is an economical to design and administer. So, core traits of employee pertaining to his job are carefully defined. All these. Right. These slides are allotted with numerical scales to tabulate the scores gained by the employee in performance assessment relating to his job by employer, and sum up to determine the best performer. Right. Appraiser ticks rating of a particular trait depending upon his endeavor in his job. So appraiser is going to tick it. Score vary from employee to employee depending upon his performance levels and endeavor in his job. So there are, despite having good, it is easy to understand. There are some drawbacks as well. It is arbitrary. It is a subjective in nature, and it is also specific job-related performance criteria are not considered. And it is assumed that each trait is equally important for all jobs. Descriptive words are used in the rating scale. It imposes heavy burden on the rater. Right. The other one is a checklist method. So here another simple type of individual evaluation method is the checklist. What exactly here they are going to do? The checklist represents the simplest form, a set of objectives or descriptive statements about the employee and his behavior. The data checks the indicator of the behavior of an employee, is it positive or negative to each statement. Suppose, does he give respect to his superiors? Yes or no. Does he follow instructions properly? Yes or no. Does he make mistakes frequently? Yes or no. This is the what they it is the employee really interested in the task assigned? Yes or no. Is he respected by his colleagues? Yes or no? See, there are a simple forced choice and weighted checklist. This is the method is descriptive technique and provides concrete examples of evaluation. Of course, the drawbacks, it's a time consuming, difficult to assemble, analyze, and weigh several statements properly. Then, the critical incidents method. In this method, what they are going to do is the supervisor keeps a written record of critical incidents or events, either good or bad, and how different employee depends on is positive or negative behavior during these events. The technique of performance appraisal developed by Flangen and Burns. The manager prepares list of statements of very effective and ineffective behavior of an employee. These critical incidents or events represent the outstanding or poor behavior of an employee on the job. The manager maintains logs on each employee whereby he periodically records critical incidents of the worker's behavior. Right. Here, these critical incidents are identified after thorough study of the job and discussion with the staff. Example, a fire, a sudden breakdown of the machinery, serious accidents may be identified as a critical incident for the working of a factory. This may be different from company to company and industry to industry as well. This method helps to avoid vague impression and general remark as the rating is based on the actual records of the behavior of the performance. And this methods provides an objective basis for conducting thorough discussion of an employee's performance. Right. So the recording of incidents may be good for the manager concerned who may be too busy to forget or do it. It results in very close supervision which may not be liked by the employee. These are the critical incidents methods. There are some critical incidents informed by the superior supervisor immediately. Depend on the critical incidents, they are going to give the score. And there are some drawbacks as well. Time consuming. Quoting incident after considerable time lapse may evoke negative emotion from the employee. Subject to judgment of supervisor may be involved in this. The superior may commit errors in recording behavior of a different employee during the short duration. And the other one is a group appraisal system. In this group of evaluator assess the employee. The group consists of immediate supervisor of the employee, other supervisors having close contact with the employee's work, like head of the department or personal expert, and that the group determines the standard performance for the job, measures the actual performance, and analyze the if there is any deviation between the actual and standard. The advantage of this method is that the simple and more thorough needs to be done, and due to the multiple evaluators, personal bias is minimized, but it is very time consuming process. The last and in the traditional method is a field review. A training officer from the personal department interviews line supervisor to evaluate their subordinates. The supervisor prepares some questionnaire in advance to be asked. By answering these questions, supervisor gives his opinions about the level of performance of his subordinates. The subordinates' work process, his strengths and weaknesses, and promotional potentiality. Then these are then placed in the employee's personal service file. The supervisor personal bias is to be reduced due to active involvement of the personal officer. The ratings are usually classified into three categories: outstanding, satisfactory, and unsatisfactory. Of course, however, this is also time-consuming method, and success depends upon the competence and the sincerity of the interviewer. Then, when it comes to the modern methods, there are some modern methods. The traditional methods focus more on traits of employee and his performance, whereas in the absence of pre-decided performance criteria or standards, the personal bias and it will be also subjectivity In order to overcome these weaknesses, some new techniques of performance appraisal have been developed. The first one is a assessment center. So it is a group of employees drawn from different work units. It is a place to evaluate an individual potentiality and performance so as to position he or she in the core functional areas. These employees work together for an assessment similar to the one they would be handling when promoted. Evaluates observe and rank the performance of all the participants. Experienced manager with the proven ability serve as a evaluator. And this group evaluates all employees both individually and collectively. Assessments are generally to determine the employee potentiality for promotion, and this method measures generally interpersonal skills, communication ability, ability to plan and organize, etc. It helps in determining training and development, and also provides data for human resource planning. It helps to select students for entry level position. All of them get an equal opportunity to prove their merit in this assessment center. An assessment center typically involves the use of methods like social, informal events, tests, and exercises, assignments being given to the group of employees to assess their competencies to take higher responsibilities in the future. Then the second one is human resource accounting. So here, the human resource accounting is a measure. It is a it is a method as well as it is a measure to the effectiveness of the personal management activities and use of the people in organization. The assets can be valued in terms of money. When competent, well-trained employee leaves the organization, the human asset of the organization get decreased. Under this method, performance judged in terms of cost and contribution. Cost here, how much you are going to pay, and HRP, recruitment, selection, induction, training, etc. Contribution of HR, human resources, is the money value of labor productivity or value added by the HR manager. So, difference between the cost and contribution of an employee will be the performance of an employee. Behaviorally anchored rating scales. It is a relatively new technique which combines graphic rating scales and critical incidence method. Depend on the rating scales, it is some rating scales like good, bad, average, below average, poor, or extremely poor, like that. And it is also provides the behavior, what type of behavior is having in the work culture, initiation, difficulty, you can manage or expect, unload the talks when asked by the superior, and identify the critical incidents here and select the performance dimensions and retranslates the incidents. These are the both the critical incidents and graphic rating skills both are applying here, and assign scales to the incidents and develop final instrument here. And the advantage is very good, the rating likely to accurate because they are done by the experts. The method is more reliable and valid as it is a job specific and identifies observable and measurable behavior. The weakness, it is a time consuming, and it is not that much result oriented. Several appraisal forms are required to accommodate different types of jobs in an organization. And the appraisal through MBO, management by objectives, it is given by the Peter Drucker. It is known as work plan and planning and review or goal setting approach to appraisal. So the main thing here is how thus where the process whereby superior and subordinate managers of an organization jointly identify its common goals, define each individual's major areas of responsibility in terms of results expected of him, and use these measures as a guides for operating the unit and assessing the contribution of each of its members, like through that they are going to appraise. Means basically typically what they are going to tell is in the MBO, management by objectives, how any employee is providing and contributing to achieve the goals and objectives of an organization. The main steps: set organizational goals, define performance targets, performance reviews, and feedbacks. The other one, 360-degree appraisal in the sense the appraisal will be taken by the colleague, superior, subordinate, and friends as well. And there are some problems in performance appraisal or limitations, or this is a errors in rating. It is a halo effect. Employee consistently high or low on the base of overall impression. Stereotyping in the sense this implies a forming a mental picture of a person on the basis of his age, sex, caste, or religion. And central tendency, it means assigning average rated to all the employees in order to avoid commitment or involvement. Constant error, some evaluates tend to be lenient and some are very strict in assessing the performance. Personal bias occurs because of the rater's likes, dislikes about an employee, religious beliefs, habits, regional conflicts, all will be coming into the picture while they are assessing the employee's performance. And lack of reliability of the evaluator, incompetence of evaluator, negative approach, they wanted to punish the employees, multiple objective and risk for the trade unions, lack of knowledge about how to rate inexperienced rater. These are the different problems are experiencing in assessing the performance evaluation system. So these are the in total about the total comprehensive analysis on the performance appraisal. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you, one and all.